Sean McVay talking about a ton of get-right games for a number of teams that we thought were going to do well in Week 1. But before we get to that, we got to welcome in the man of the hour, fantasy football.
I'm not the man of the hour. I'm the man of the last 20 minutes. I've been in traffic for literally 3 hours. I apologize to you, Julie, JSB.
Okay.
You and I are dear friends. We've known each other for a long time. I was so excited to make our TV debut. I mean, I've been on Drinks with Binks, but but
now I'm on happy hour.
Now you're on happy hour. Yeah, for whatever reason, when you and I are on, whether it's in real life or TV life, you and I it's me, you, and alcohol.
Yes,
I don't know how that happens.
I don't know how that happens.
Yeah, exactly. I apologize to Jay as well. I apologize to the viewers and my NBC family. They shut down 10 miles of 95 to get here, and it's for a tragic reason. They're investigating a 3-person shooting, but it's unfortunately for people that don't know Connecticut. Basically, if you can't get on 95, it's nothing but small towns, and so you're driving through these small, quaint little one-lane roads that are 20 miles an hour, in New Canaan and Westport and Fairfield, and and I don't know the area because I know stupid Bristol. I've been here for 3 weeks, so I don't know. I'm trusting Waze, and Waze keeps trying to send me back to 95 South. I get to 95 South, and cops are like, "Nope, keep going. This one's closed too. This entrance is closed too." And so I'm here, and I'm late, and I'm annoyed, and I apologize. So it's a It's a get right show for me.
It's a get right
Sean
show.
McVay saying get right week for the Rams. It's a get right show for me and for my fantasy team in our show league.
Yeah, well, you know what? We are happy to have you. We're happy to have you in one piece. And, I mean, Jay is – we've been tap dancing here.
Okay.
Credit goes –
Jay's the best.
Yeah, give him a first star. And I just love being on the show and was being able to fly.
I know. You brought out your best leather.
Fly,
What's going on? Pinky Tuscadero.
This is what I wear to the bar. I was told wear what you wear to the bar, which usually involves more sequins. But I thought I'll tone it down on Jay.
Yeah, only one of us should wear sequins. I already called that.
We got lots of games coming up here this week. But the get-right games. So we know that the Rams are taking on the Falcons, big favorites at home. But we're looking at if you can trust Allen Robinson and Cam Akers in your lineup for Week 2, or is it Darrell Henderson?
So let's start with the wide receivers. Trust is a strong word, Julie. Trust is a strong word. I don't know that I want to say I trust Allen Robinson. I mean, he played all but 2 offensive snaps in Week 1, and you watch the tape, and he was open. But there was and I apologize because I don't remember who put it together, but I retweeted somebody that put together every snap, here's Allen Robinson's route tree, and it was 2 steps and then you watch the ball go somewhere else. So I don't know. I haven't run receiver 29. So I have him a low-end wide receiver 3, despite the great matchup here, because there is uncertainty. So I don't think he's an automatic start. I think if you have at least 2 wide receivers that are 28 or above on my list, I think you're starting them above that. So I think I'm cautiously optimistic. I still believe in his talent. I still believe in that scheme. It is still Week 1. Falcons are a much better matchup. I think they sort of got, a wake-up call. They've had 10 days to prepare for this game as opposed to a regular week. But yeah, 2 targets is 2 targets. So I'm a little bit nervous. I do feel like I heard from a source, a good source, that Cam Akers was a little bit in the doghouse in Week 1, sort of learned his lesson, and I think I expect more of a split this week. Sean McVay said 2 days ago, quote, he's going to get an opportunity to do it this week. I know what Cam's capable of. 13-3. He was out-carried by Darrell Henderson. I think both guys are viable flex plays this week. I certainly have Henderson ahead of Cam Akers. Hearing the quote and we'll see how the practice reports go.
Yeah.
I have a wide range between Henderson and Akers right now based on Week 1. I think it gets closer. If I have to pick one, I'm going with Henderson just based on last week's usage. So I do think that Akers is a shaky flex, and I understand if you wouldn't want to start him again this week because last week should have been eye-opening to you. But I do think it's a better week for Cam Akers. So you may not have better options because you probably drafted him fairly high, Jay.
Yeah, I feel a lot better about Allen Robinson than Cam Akers at this point. I think the thing with Robinson is that he did play almost every snap offensively. And so 4% target rate, that's not going to happen again. I believe we have a little video, though, for the Allen Robinson experience.
This is a great tweet right here. This is from Justin_14P. And the quote tweet was, me starting Allen Robinson in my fantasy lineup again this week.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
I love this video.
Right. This is the greatest video. So it's okay, you know what?
Help
I'm going to
this
save
lamb
it. It
out.
is what it is. Fell in the ditch in Week 1. But you know what? Here, Allen Robinson, go. I'm setting you free. Run free. Score me some fantasy points. You can do. Oh, you can't.
And it wasn't even like he tripped in.
No.
He jumped right back in that hole there because that's what you know what's going to happen. But I got a source who's telling me that they believe that Allen Robinson will see a lot more volume and that also Sean McVay rarely calls out players. And he did call out Cam Akers. Before he had that nice motivational quote that you mentioned, he was saying, you know, we got to see some more from this guy.
Yes. So, again, he was in the doghouse. Then, again, if I'm picking a Rams running back, give me Henderson over Akers. But I do think I'm not ready to just completely throw in the towel on Akers. I do think he's a risky but upside flex against the Falcons, a game we expect them to be leading. Okay,
let's go on to the Niners taking on the Seahawks. We mentioned this before, but if you drafted Trey Lance, I don't know who that could possibly be, to be your starter, would you roll the dice again, Matthew?
Look, it's certainly a tough matchup. I'm at QB 14, so I am as a QB 2. I will say I don't think you can truly judge him on horrible weather. No George Kittle. He loses his starting running back early in the game. And playing a tough defense. Like the Bears' offense is a disaster, but the Bears' defense is fine. It's a solid middle-of-the-pack defense. So I don't think you can hold week 1 against him. I do think what was encouraging is there was a lot of designed runs for Trey Lance. And so that keeps his floor high. Like, again, Trey Lance did not play well from an NFL perspective. They lost that game, and yet still he wasn't as much a disaster as Dak Prescott was.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we're trying to find positives here.
You don't have to outrun the bear. You just got to outrun the slowest guy.
There you go. That's exactly right. So again, trust is a strong word, but I'm probably leaning more towards rolling with him than not. Again, I'm at QB 14. It depends on what else you have.
Okay, so
last week Trey Lance was the 3rd most unlucky quarterback in the league in terms of drops, interception luck. So we expect that to come back. He was also the number 1 most unlucky quarterback in terms of the weather that he dealt with, wasn't put in a position to succeed. His offensive line was a disaster as well. So, yeah, I'm not giving up on Trey Lance yet. And the Niners are 10-point favorites. So the betting market certainly thinks that they will get right.
Yeah, and hopefully he gets George Kittle back this week, too, which is important not only as a pass catcher, but also he's a really good blocker as well. And so that'll open up some running lanes for Trey Lance.
All right, let's move on to Bengals taking on the Cowboys. You know, Joe Burrow didn't have such a great first game with 5 turnovers, but we expect him to bounce back.
Yeah, we do. I mean, look, I'm a QB 11, right? I mean, but listen, Dallas has a decent defense. I mean, they didn't lose Dak Prescott from the defense. Having said that, we don't expect their offense to be that effective, so you're going to be seeing shorter, the Dallas defense is going to be on the field a lot more because they're going to have shorter offensive possessions for the Cowboys. We expect this to be, yes, to your point, a get-right game for Joe Burrow. Cowboys did give up the 11th most passing yards. You know, Tom Brady didn't have a huge game in the box score, but they were moving the ball consistently, more field goals than scores. But again, I'm at QB 11. I'm at QB 11, right? Because again, he still doesn't run. There's not as much rushing upside. We still think the Cowboys' defense is pretty good. The turnovers are a concern. The offensive line, even though it was rebuilt in the offseason, they looked awful against the Steelers.
Brutal.
Yeah, so I mean, I think he's a borderline QB1 this week.
Yeah, and Joe Burrow, he does throw interceptions. He had 14 last year. He had 3 in that one game against the Bears, I think on consecutive plays, basically. And so, I mean, he had 4 against the Steelers. It probably should have been 3. He got a little bit unlucky, but I suspect Joe Burrow will be fine. He just needs to stop taking as many sacks, because as bad as the offensive line
7 sacks.
Yeah. The offensive line isn't great, but he takes some of those sacks himself as well.
He does. He absolutely does.
Okay, so just another question for this game. T. Higgins with a concussion, likely out. Is Tyler Boyd startable?
I don't think so, because I think like you see some Hayden Hurst. I think you'll see some Joe Mixon. I think they'll mix and match outside of Jamar Chase. Again, it depends on sort of the size of your league, but I wouldn't automatically assume that he gets all of T. Higgins' targets. Let's discuss. Let's figure out, see how he goes. I mean, my old friend Stephania Bell will always say concussions are nonlinear injuries, and so you have good days and bad days, and so you never want to speculate on that. We want T to get right himself, before he comes out there. A lot of football still to play for T. Higgins, so won't want to speculate on that. I will say that we will have the latest on T. Higgins on Fantasy Football Pregame this Sunday, 11 a.m. to 1, right here on Peacock. I'm a company man.
Look at that.
Our guy,
nice
Mike Ryan. Yeah, Mike Ryan, who does a great job with the injuries, former head trainer of the Jaguars for 20 years. He'll be here, and I'm sure he'll have the latest on T. Higgins.
Yeah, one thing about this game to note is that the Bengals are now 8.5-point favourites against the Cowboys. So I was with Julie earlier that I would have made that game pick if Dak Prescott was playing.
Right.
So Dak Prescott, Cooper Rush, 8.5-point swing. So Joe Burrow shouldn't face too much resistance, I would have thought.
He shouldn't, but also, by the way, maybe this is a game to get, again, if they're up big, are they running more? Does Burrow even play the entire game, right? So I don't think they blow them out. You know what I mean? My point is like, I think if they get a comfortable lead, they're like, okay.
Pretty low total, 43 is the total,
Right.
so it might be a bit ugly.
Are you doing over-under quickly?
I would probably lean under just because Cooper Rush, I don't want to
Yeah, we don't know. We don't really know much about him yet with this. Okay, we got Raiders taking on the Cardinals. Derek Carr, Hunter Renfrow, safe to start after watching the Chiefs annihilate the Cards through the air, or Adams and Waller still?
So the question is, on Derek Carr, I mean him as a top 10 quarterback. Again, Patrick Mahomes threw 5 touchdowns against these Cardinals, right? They gave up 5 passing touchdowns in week 1. Patrick Mahomes had his way with them. I'm not saying Derek Carr's Patrick Mahomes, but Derek Carr's a good quarterback, and he's got a lot of weapons, obviously. Devonta Adams, a fantastic start last week. Wide receiver 3 with over 30 fantasy points, 44% target share for Adams last week. Hunter Renfrow, I have at 37 this week. Look, the positives here, they saw 6 targets in week 1, right? But he averaged 7.5 last year. He ran fewer routes than Matt Collins did against the Chargers. And so I think we're still figuring out what Josh McDaniels wants to do with this offense beyond the obvious guys, beyond the Wallers and the Devonta Adams. So, again, I'm as a wide receiver 4. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game, and certainly nothing about Arizona's defense scares you. But Renfrow had his biggest games last year when Waller was out, when he was really the only part of the passing game here. Devonta Adams had a 44% target share.
Yeah, is that going to happen again?
I don't know. I don't know about 44%, but I think it's a lot. They're paying him a lot of money. It's his best friend from college, and we've talked about this. Josh McDaniels hasn't had a toy like this since Randy Moss in 07 or whatever it was. So I think you
just don't want to break that toy.
No, you do not want to break that toy.
It.
I will say that I'm in a guillotine league. I don't know if anyone knows what a guillotine league is.
Oh, wow.
So a guillotine league is
very Alice Cooper.
Yeah. Thank you. But a guillotine league, it's a lot of fun to play, by the way. But a guillotine league is basically, the idea is that everyone drafts a lineup, and then at the end of the week, the team that has the lowest score is cut from the league. You're just out of the league. And all their players are put back in the free agent pool, and you just keep doing that until there's one team remaining.
I love it.
It is an insanely fun. It's really, when you're down there with the last, it's like a sweat like no other. To your point about you don't have to be the fastest, you just have to be faster than the bear, right? So that's
my motto.
So I had the 4th pick, and I took Adams because again, in a guillotine league, you just want to go safe. You're not worried about upside. You're literally like, I just don't need to be last. And so I think his upside, I don't know about his upside, but I think his floor is insanely high.
Wow. Okay.
Agreed. And the thing to watch in that game, 51.5 is the total. There's going to be a lot of yards, a lot of points, both football points and fantasy points up for grabs. I'm just a little bit worried about Derek Carr. He had 5 turnover-worthy plays against the Chargers. New coach, I think he'll be fine and he will accumulate, but it's just something to keep an eye on if he's bad again against a much worse defense.
Fair.
Okay, well, we have the Packers and the Bears, of course, the Sunday night game here on NBC.
You're a company
And yes, my first day on the job, I've already promoted the Premier League and, of course, Sunday Night Football.
Go Arsenal.
Are we trusting Aaron Rodgers in lineups again this week? And if you have Aaron Rodgers, you probably are.
Yes, he owns the Bears.
Yes.
He legit owns the Bears. He should show up with like an ownership certificate. He should get somebody to like mock up like a shares of the team or something like that. He should show up because he owns the Bears. Like my love-hate list will come out tomorrow. Right, today's Wednesday. It'll come out tomorrow, and Aaron Rodgers is going to be on it. I'm just going to give a heads up and hint here. Do I think Aaron Rodgers has 2 bad games in a row? I do not. Do I think Aaron Rodgers has a bad game at Lambeau against the Bears? I do not. Do I think Aaron Rodgers have a bad game at home against the Bears in Lambeau in prime time? Absolutely not.
No way, Jose.
Aaron Rodgers is going nuclear. Aaron Rodgers is going nuclear against the Bears.
Agreed on that. And how much different is the discourse around Rodgers if Christian Watson just catches that 75-yard walk-in touchdown?
Right.
Of the pass catchers, I do think Romeo Doubs is the guy that you want if Alan Lazard isn't playing. He got the most targets, best PFF grade of all the receivers. I do think he is the guy who has the most upside.
4 games against the Bears over the last 2 years, 26.3 fantasy points. That's what he averages against the Bears. Again,
and he
owns them.
He owns them. We always know the first game, at least last year, is kind of a throwaway game. But I did listen to you guys and drafted A.J. Dillon, and thank you very much for that.
The quad father is fantastic. His backfield mate, by the way, last year, week 1, running back 51 in that brutal loss to the Saints, The following week against the Lions, running back 2, 41.5 fantasy points. He was only one of 2 running backs to have a 40-point game last year. Aaron Jones is going to get right.
Yes.
We love A.J.
Aaron
Dillon
Jones.
again. 1A and 1A. Free Aaron Jones. Hashtag free Aaron Jones. He will be freed. He's going to.
Yeah, that was an anomaly.
I'm in on the Packers.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
What's the line for the Packers?
-10.
Give me the pack. Well, that's a big line.
It's a
I think
big line,
it
isn't
is a big line.
You would thought maybe
I
-9, but
I
you
think
don't take
did I say at 13? Was that the one I said?
Yeah,
I'm going to take them an
little outline.
alternate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fine. Okay. Well, we know that game is on Sunday night on NBC, and the NFL season is here, and the NBC Sports Predictor app is giving you a shot at winning $100,000 by entering Sunday night's Sevens free contest between the Bears and the Packers. So if you don't have the NBC Sports Predictor app, go download it now.
Free. And you can use the code ROTO2022 to join the league with me and Jay and JSP.
Yes, I will.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and Rotoworld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, okay, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from Rotoworld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.